Step1, I'm Mark.
And I'm Daniel. We're here in Daytona Beach at Biketoberfest.
And you're watching Step1.
I'm not doing fine, I'm desecrating lies. I'm on the phone with other lady, shaky heinous cries.
Welcome to Step 1, I'm Mark.
And I'm Daniel.
And today in Step 1 we're going to install Linux, and then do some hacking on that same box, and then we're going to follow that up with some home theater PC setups.
We're also going to be teaching you how to torrent, and we have a basic PC mod with Danny.
Alright, well let's go ahead and kick it off with the torrenting.
Alright, let's go. My name is Arron. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit today about some basics of BitTorrenting. What you're going to find is BitTorrent is set up a lot like a peer-to-peer network, only it utilizes a central server. The thing about this server, though, is it doesn't know what the files that you're uploading or downloading are. So it's able to uplink a lot more users at the same time while still using a relatively low amount of bandwidth. You're going to want to find a client like s01e01, which is what we're going to be using, and the problem you're going to run into with this is it's set as a default to use port 6881. The problem with that is that a lot of internet service providers, or ISPs as we're going to be calling them, block 6881 up through 6999. The reason they do this is because a lot of peer-to-peer networks utilize those ports, and they want to eliminate some of that peer-to-peer sharing. So you're going to want to set your ports to 49152 up to 65535. At the same time, you're going to want to check your router and make sure that your router is allowing those. And also you're going to want to check your firewall and your Windows firewall to make sure you're allowing downloads. Your Windows firewall is going to be the biggest problem when you're trying to download. Virus scans, you'll encounter a conflict every once in a while, but virus scans should be alright for the most part. A couple of terms you need to learn are seeding and leeching. Seeding is the amount you're uploading, while leeching is the amount you're downloading. The way these networks are set up is they're made to run better the more people that you have on them at the same time, whereas other peer-to-peer networks will bog down when you get more people. The reason for this is you're supposed to upload at the same amount you're downloading, because BitTorrents work primarily on your uploads so other people can download. Otherwise it wouldn't work at all. So now that you know some basic terms and some stuff like that, let's go ahead and jump into the client and see if we can't get some downloads going.
Okay, what you're going to do is go ahead and download a client. What we're going to use is s01e01. You can check that out at s01e01.sourceforge.net. You're going to want to find the download s01e01. Go ahead and download your Windows version, the latest release, and you're going to want to use the North American server. File's going to be about 6.5 megs. Okay, we're going to go ahead and install s01e01 now. Since nobody really reads the license agreement, I'm going to go ahead and click I agree. You're going to want to decide whether you want to start menu shortcut, which we do. So once you decided that, go ahead and click next. Put in your destination. Go ahead and click install and let it go. It's a pretty quick install. Then you're going to close your downloads. Now s01e01 is about ready now, except for the fact that you got to go through and change your ports, but to save time, we're just going to go ahead and find a site to torrent from. And since we got to worry about copyrights and stuff, we're going to go ahead and use our buddies over there at Hack5. Go down here to episodes, and we're going to go to where it says BitTorrent. You don't want to do the direct download. Go through BitTorrent, and make sure you click the torrent one, not the easy download. You're going to want to go to your program list, select s01e01. Go ahead and click OK. It's really as simple as that. Other than that, it's pretty much like any other download program. You're going to want to click where you want your file to save to. And now it's downloading. Okay, since this is your first time using s01e01, you're going to have to tweak it a little bit. You're going to have to go in and set whatever bandwidth you're capable of. And you're also going to want to make sure that your upload speed is consistent with your download speed, because like I said before, that's how things like BitTorrent run. Now, if you're looking for some information on what some of the better torrent sites are, you can go ahead and check out DigNation. They have an episode. It's episode 6 to be exact. They talk about the 5 best torrent sites. You can go ahead and check that out, and that should help you with most of your torrenting needs. Alright, so a lot of the guys at a lot of these IPTV shows like Hack5, DigNation, us for instance, we would much rather you BitTorrent our episodes than do the direct download, because it saves us a lot of money on bandwidth, and it's actually a lot faster download, and you'll probably get slightly larger files. You're going to get things that you wouldn't get in a direct download episode, because we got to make the files smaller. Alright guys, that was just some of the basics of BitTorrenting. Now that you got that out of the way, you can go ahead and torrent our episodes from now on instead of doing the direct download. And that's about it. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Mark and Daniel with Linux install and some basic hacking with that.
Before we get started on your hacking tutorial, let's go ahead and put Linux on a box.
Alright.
First thing to do is just get your computer set up, and then you should be good to go.
Alright, so what would be the first step when you're installing Linux on your home computer?
First thing you want to do is get into the BIOS on your computer. It's very simple. Just press delete is normally the key to use. Like this one, it's a Phoenix BIOS, and delete is the way to get into it.
Alright, so what exactly are you doing in the BIOS?
Right now I just went into the advanced BIOS settings, and I'm changing it from the first boot device being the hard drive, which a lot of people like Dell, HP, they're going to set the boot priority to be the hard drive instead of the CD-ROM drive. We're just going to go ahead and change it to CD-ROM drive. That way we can boot off actual Linux install disk. Now there's also things like Knoppix, stuff like that, where you don't even install it, it just runs directly from the CD-ROM. Now that's always an option, but since we're going to be using this a lot, we're actually going to boot to the Fedora operating system, or the install, so to say. And of course, whenever you go and install Linux, you're going to have a few options. You could either do a graphical mode, text mode, or and then just kind of like a step-by-step. We're going to go ahead and go into graphical mode would probably be the best one. At this point, it's going to be scanning everything from the CD-ROM drive, loading it into your RAM so it can actually run and install. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go through the menu and make sure everything's going to line up fine. First thing it's going to do is just kind of give you an introduction, tell you what it's all about, and you just want to go through and select all the mostly default settings. English keyboard, English. We want to go ahead and set up a personal desktop in this state, because there's also the option of doing a workstation, server, or custom. Custom is a little more advanced for what we're going to show you for now, but personal desktop should fit us fine because there's not really any customization to it. And it also has options to automatically partition or manually partition using distro. Automatic, if you have the option to do it. If you want to erase your hard drive, definitely do automatic.
Which one will we be doing in this case?
In this case, we want to go ahead and remove all partitions and go with and use the existing free space, or remove all on this system. So go ahead and go to next. You sure you want to do this? Yes.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and turn the firewall off. That way we have full access and anything can come in. So if we're sending it or receiving anything, we're good to go.
Alright.
We also want to set up a root password. Since it's just going to be for us, we're going to go ahead and just leave it at that default admin.
This isn't recommended for your actual home computer.
Oh, definitely not. Never use admin, password, or any of those kind of like standard, oh, it's a clever idea to use password as my password.
Because
never do that.
Those would be the first things I would guess.
Yeah, personally, I'm going to go with admin when I'm getting into your router. In this case, the password must be 6 characters long. So in this, let's just go password. Now once again, never use that as your password. It's just
trust me, it's the first thing I would use if I was trying to get root on a system.
Yeah, never go with password, and also never do any kind of words. If you do words, it's the easiest thing to do because it'll just take a dictionary and it'll just hit it with every single word out of the dictionary with brute force.
Yeah, it's called a dictionary attack.
Mm-hmm. And then also, if you can throw some numbers in the middle of that, that'll definitely help you out. The desktop shell that is going to go with default is GNOME, but all the other things that includes like OpenOffice, web browser, all this kind of stuff is really default, which you can always install later, things like Firefox and stuff like that.
So that's what's great about Linux, is it pretty much comes with everything that you need for free.
Yeah, right out of the box, it's completely free open source software. Benefit of open source is their entire source code is available. Unlike Microsoft, if something goes wrong, Linux or whatever distro you have doesn't have to fix it. You can go ahead and fix it yourself because you know everything that's on that operating system.
And if there's something that you think you would like and you know how to do it, you could go ahead and add that.
Exactly.
Another great thing about Linux is that they have great forum activity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one point that we actually failed to mention earlier when we were mentioning the distros. Every distro is pretty much going to have their own forum on their site. So if you're going with, or even if you had a problem with some of the interfaces, KDE, you can go to theirs. You can go to GNOME's forums. You can go to Linspire. You can go to Fedora, which is owned by Red Hat. But I mean, really anywhere you can go. And also, don't forget, Google it. You can search anything on Google.
Yeah, and the forums have great searches too. You just go on there, if you're having a problem with something specific, you can search that in, and I'm positive there will be something on there. You're not the first person to have the problem. There'll be an answer for it. And if you post a question, chances are, the next time you check it, it'll be answered. There's so many people using these forums.
Yeah, there's tons of people. I mean, if you ask a question, most likely give it 10 minutes and you'll get a response. So what do you do whenever you want to look for a piece of software for Linux?
Well, so that's one of the great things about Linux, is there's so much freeware out there. People just write it and give it to you. And it's all open source. So if you think of an idea and you're like, hey, that would be great, you can go ahead and append that file and change it.
Or if, let's say, you have a cool idea for a Linux software, go to the forums, submit it to someone. Someone's going to do it if they really want to see that kind of software in use.
Yeah, even if you can't do it, if you have a cool idea, someone who knows how to do it, who will like your idea, will most likely make that change and release it.
Yeah. Now, for a lot of you guys have family members, stuff like that, you always have to go over there and fix the problem with the viruses, fix the problem with their spyware, spam, whatever the case may be. What you should do is really just install Linux, put a different shell over it.
Yeah, don't be afraid that they're not going to be able to use it, because they actually offer a Windows XP shell that they'll be able to use just like it was Windows XP.
Yeah, and also it's not supported by Microsoft. Don't go and install this and be like, hey, I can't find my Windows Notepad. That's not going to be there.
It's going to be the same programs, but it's going to be a Windows shell.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's going to be set up the same way. Maybe you can even have like your little chess with the username right next to it.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Check it out.
All right, now that it's done installing Linux, we're going to go ahead and reboot the computer. First things first, since we're going to leave the disk in there anyway, we're going to go ahead and change the boot priority. So as soon as it gets to the BIOS area, we're going to go ahead and load up the BIOS.
What are you changing it to? You're changing it back to the hard drive, right?
Correct. The thing to do is to now avoid the CD-ROM. Since we still have the disk in there, we don't really feel like taking it out right now. We're just changing the boot priority back to the hard drive. That way it runs from the hard drive and not from the CD.
Yeah, because if you have it running from the CD, it's going to try and install Fedora over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Now pretty much it's just running the setup. It's going to be good to go in just about a minute. It just like analyzes the hardware and just sets it up for this computer now.
It might take a little longer for Linux to boot up than it would for Windows, but I'd say it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Now that we have Linux installed, we're going to shut down the computer, move it to a more comfortable location. That way it's a little more laid back, and plus we have some problems with helicopters flying over something happening.
It's getting a little noisy out here, so we're just going to head into the room.
Okay, let's go.
Now that we've got Linux installed on your box, let's go ahead and do some hacking.
Okay, so what'd you have in mind for us today?
Well, today we're just going to do some phishing.
Now, what exactly is phishing?
Phishing is sending someone a fraudulent email as support staff for a website in order to get their login information.
Now, is this something that like people have done? Because I've actually had something similar to this happen to me, where it was someone pretending to be PayPal, and they rerouted me to a site that was like PayPal.com you're getting cracked or whatever kind of thing. But I mean, of course, it wasn't that. But is it something similar to this, or?
Yeah, it's exactly that.
Okay. So is there a certain program we need to get? Because I mean, this is a fresh Linux install. I mean, we haven't really done anything to the operating system yet.
Oh no, you just need the basic text editor that comes with it, gedit.
Okay, gedit is the actual text editor for Linux? Okay. Now, how does this compare to like front page, or how does this compare to Word or any of the other kind of text editors? Is it more like Notepad out of all of them?
It's more like Notepad on steroids.
Okay. So how does it react with the HTML? Is there an example you could show us on that?
Oh yeah, actually I have an HTML page saved on here, and you can see how it interacts with it.
Alright. So this is actually gedit now, right?
Yep.
That's pretty cool. Oh, I see. So it actually highlights, like, here's your link, oh, and here's the actual hypertext kind of thing, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, basically whatever extension you save the file as, it acts like that kind of editor. Like if I saved it as .c, it would act like a C editor.
That's cool. Alright, so now is this the actual... is this an actual website's HTML document? Or?
Yeah, this is the source of myspace.com.
Okay. Now, is this something easy to get? Can we show them real quick how to get this?
Yeah, it takes about 30 seconds.
Alright. Now, is every site this easy to just grab the source from and do this, or is there only certain sites that don't have high security, or what?
Well, MySpace is extremely easy because when they link documents like their JavaScript and their banners and stuff like that, they don't just use the local reference. They actually include the HTTP www MySpace, you know.
Which is actually a pretty big flaw, right?
It's not really a flaw. It just saves me probably 15, 20 minutes.
Alright.
So now we're here, and all I have to do is view page source.
And this should be very similar on Windows-based computers too, because I mean these are both Firefox browsers, so it should be simple, right?
It's pretty much exactly the same.
All right.
You just highlight the whole thing, copy it, paste it, save it as index.html.
All right. So, what are you going to do with that HTML? Like, are you going to just email the actual files to someone? Like, how do you go about tricking someone into thinking it's MySpace?
Well, the first thing you need to do is get a free web hosting account.
Oh, what did you use?
I used 100freewebhosting.com.
Now, is that something where after so long you're going to have to pay? Is there any kind of like little tricks they at you too?
No, they have a few banner ads at the top, but there's so many ads on myspace.com that the person really isn't going to notice anyways.
Alright. Yeah, because there's tons of them out there. I know if anyone here watches Dignation right now, there's a coupon code of 8LEX Alex, and you just enter that in, and I think it's half off or something really cheap. You should check that out if you want to actually have a permanent server. This is something you'd probably just run a joke with, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So, how do you go about putting it on your server, though?
You just log on to the service. Server.
I see. Alright, so is there anything we need to do to that HTML document before we host it up, or is it pretty much ready to go just like that?
What you do need to do a couple things to it, but I'll explain that later once we get into the script.
Understandable.
Alright, so to upload it, you just go to the file manager.
Now, if you actually had a server besides like this one online, you would want to use a third-party software to upload this site.
Yeah, if you were actually having a real website where you're going to be uploading stuff all the time, you'd probably want like QtFTP or something like that.
Yeah, I use something like that with our site, Step1. But I'm hosting it through like HostGator. I know there's tons of them out there, GoDaddy, and if you search on Google, you'll have thousands of results.
Yeah.
Is that something that you wouldn't want to use with this? Is it an option that you could, or what?
It doesn't really matter. This is just if you're trying to do it quick and easy. You're only uploading 2 files, so just go ahead and do it through the
cPanel. I know what you're saying. So how do you actually get the files up there? You just go to upload, select the files,
and just go to FTP. You go to browse. You find them on your computer, and you just click upload.
All right, I see.
It's that easy.
Now, I see that you have the index.html that we created earlier. What is the other one that you have there?
The other one is addemail.php, which is the actual script that's going to redirect their information into my database.
I see how you're going to do this. So you're going to take all their information that they really enter thinking it's somewhere else, and it's just kind of adding that to like a little database of yours.
Yeah,
right?
so eventually I'll have a whole list in my database of usernames and passwords.
That's nice. So, do you have to add this to the HTML, or is this going to always stay a separate file?
This will always stay a separate file. You can add it to the HTML, but it gets kind of messy.
Is there a few little things we need to edit to the HTML document that is going to make it not go to the MySpace thing, but go to your PHP?
Yeah, actually there are. you just do a quick search for it.
Now you just press Control Find, right? Or Control F. All right.
For input. And once you get to the form, you just change the action equals from the whatever MySpace has it to addemail.php or whatever the name of your PHP file is.
Oh, I see how that's going to work. So is this almost ready to go, and can you show us it in action, or is it something we still need to do a few more steps with?
I think it's pretty much ready to go.
All right, did you want to create an email account to use this, or how do you go about doing this? Because you said you wanted to email the thing to someone, right?
Well, the script is up and running, but you got to trick the person into logging onto that page.
Can you show us the page real quick before we jump into it so they know exactly what we're talking about? That looks identical to MySpace.
Yeah, it has all the same ads and everything.
Man,
even the Google
ads.
ads.
Even the Google ads. That's pretty sweet. So from this point, what do we have to do to actually get it going?
Alright, there are a lot of things you could do. You could do PHP email spoofing, SMTP email spoofing.
What are we going to focus on?
But we're just going to, a basic Yahoo.
Alright. Is there a reason why you would pick Yahoo over Gmail and AOL Mail and all these other services out there? Well, even Hotmail?
Well, most people have Yahoo accounts because Yahoo's been around forever. And what Yahoo's actually done is made all Gmail accounts sent to the bulk folder.
What a bunch of punks.
Yeah. So they'll never actually get your email if you use Gmail.
Alright.
So you just go to Mail, sign up for Yahoo.
Do you have a pre-made account, or is this something
I have one already made, but we're going to go ahead
and do one for the show?
Yeah.
Alright. So is there any trick to set it up to help people get confused later on when they're getting this email? Or is it something that we could use our current account that we already have and work with that?
Well, see, the thing about Yahoo is instead of showing your email address in the inbox, it shows your first and last name.
Okay. And now, is that when you go and check your Yahoo mail, or is this, let's say if I was using a third-party software like Thunderbird from the Mozilla guys, is that going to still show up as your username, or is it going to show up as the @whatever?
It depends on the software and how you have it set up.
Alright. So it's not going to actually be able to trick everyone, but
not
the majority
everyone,
of the people.
but the majority of the people.
I gotcha.
Alright, so what you're going to do is just have your first name be support and the @character, and then your last name will be myspace.com.
It's pretty tricky because when it actually puts it all together,
it'll show.
Yeah, it appears like you're really coming from MySpace.
Instead of Joe Smith, it would show support @myspace.com.
Alright.
Alright, so let's go ahead.
Was there anything else you need to enter that's going to confuse, or that's going to help trick people into thinking it's MySpace?
I mean, you can always make the email something like support MySpace or something like that. That if they happen to glance at the email would give them a false sense of security.
I gotcha. Now, another thing, when we were making our accounts with Linux, this is completely different. You never want to do what we were doing with just the password being your password.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to trick people into doing things. Because if they find out and they want to, go back and they could easily just get into your account and look at all the people, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, anything else we need to fill out, or we can just go ahead and get this started?
We can just go ahead and get this started.
All right. Now that we've created an account with Yahoo Mail, what do we do? Do we just email it to her? Is there a file we send, or is it just a link to your site?
Well, we're just going to send her a spoofed message saying, hey, your name has been logged in from too many different IP addresses. You need to log into our secure server. Something that's going to scare into immediately logging on.
Okay. Now, you just put her email in there, and then do you put something special in the subject to convince them, or do you just say...
No, just like what I said.
All right.
So,
urgent message from MySpace. Alright. Now here you just put the link or whatever.
Just the link to the HTML file. And,
okay.
Alright. So
okay, so when we go to send this email, is there anything that we should do afterwards, like a follow-up thing, or is it just whenever she goes to sign in, it's already going to be ready for her?
It's already going to be ready for her when she goes to log. The smart thing to do is once you get their username and password, send a follow-up email. Say, okay, your account is safely been secured, something like that.
And you're no longer on termination.
Something to make them think, oh, okay, the problem's over, nothing bad happened.
And then they won't go and contact MySpace or whatever kind of site it is. Gotcha.
All right, so let's just go ahead and send this email. And let's check this specific email address.
Which you just happen to have
the username and password for.
How did you acquire that information?
It's a long story.
Alright, so is there any reason why we're doing this Jackie girl, or?
Well, the actual thought of this segment came to me because my friend was kind of in a bind. She broke up with him, and he felt that she lied to him and all this stuff, so he just asked me for her password, and instead of hacking MySpace, which
would take a whole lot longer than what we're doing.
Not to mention, which is way beyond my capabilities alone, you know, just in general. I thought, why not just hack her?
Okay.
It's so much easier.
And I mean, if you ask me, I think anyone here could do it. Any of you guys out there could do it, because it's really, really basic. I mean, we're gonna pretty much give you everything. You just copy and paste it. All right. That's nice. Welcome, Jackie.
Look at it. There it is.
At MySpace.com.
Urgent message from MySpace.com.
Click it.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and delete this so she doesn't notice.
Sounds like a good idea.
Alright. So she actually did send me her username and password. So let's go,
right?
Yeah, let's go check my database.
Okay.
To see what's on there. See if everything worked out.
So now you're just going to log in and...
Yeah. And I'm going to just go ahead and open this table, and there it is. Email and password.
Did you want to tell them? This password is no longer...
It doesn't matter.
She changed it already.
So...
which is kind of sad, but the fun ended.
But we're not going to tell it anyways.
Alright.
Okay. So yeah, there it is.
Alright.
A couple things to make sure you do. A very important part in the PHP code that you should not leave out is when it says header and then the location name.
Because why wouldn't you want to leave that out? What's so important?
Because what that does is after this successful entry into the database, it just reroutes them to MySpace.com. So they figure maybe there's something wrong with their cookies, if they're that smart, or maybe they're just like, oh, the button didn't work. You know, it just takes them to MySpace, and they just log in again, and everything works fine, and then they get that confirmation email.
That's nice. So really, there's no way to know unless they were smart enough to read the...
just read the URL.
All right. Is there any way to hide that, or is that something too advanced for right now?
It's not too advanced right now, but it would go too in depth for the segment.
We'll definitely get around to it another time.
Yeah, we will.
Alright. So is there anything else we need to do to finish this up, or pretty much it's good to go?
Once you get what you want, delete your email account, delete your free web hosting account.
That way they can't track you.
Don't use your real name and stuff when signing up for the...
I use Thomas A. Anderson.
Yeah, for the free web hosting. So, you know, that's pretty much it.
That was actually some very basic hacking. From this point on, each episode is going to get more and more advanced.
Yeah, that might be something cool you can show your friends, but if you try and post that on a hacking forum, they're going to flame you.
Big time. Well, let's keep things going and pass it over to Danny.
Hey everyone, I'm going to be the one showing you some of the mods here on Step 1. First, let's introduce our mod computer. This is our project case. It's a Chiftech Dragon series case. It's going to be chopped up and painted up and screwed around with, and at the end we're going to give it away to someone. So let's go ahead and show you what mod we're going to be doing. This is just a quick mod. It's a fan mod to get rid of the fan grills that comes on the case. It actually improves the cooling about 30 or 40%, and it makes it a little bit quieter just because there's less air resistance. Let's go ahead and show you the tools we're going to be using. First, we'll be using a wire cutter to cut off all the grills and everything like that, and then we're going to round it off with the Dremel tool. The bit we'll be using is the metal grind tool to round it off, and that way you don't cut yourself and get tetanus. Let's go and show you this mod. First, you just got to take our wire cutters, what we're going to do is finish it up and do this to that one, this one, and up front, and we're going to round it off here. Let's go and start rounding it off. Alright, that's about all you need to do at the start off. Although you do need to make sure you don't put your finger in there when the computer's on, because there's not going to be any fangirls to stop it. But we're big kids, we can refrain from doing that.
That's actually a pretty simple case mod, but it quiets down your PC quite a bit. Yeah, I did it to mine. Now over to Mark with a Windows Media Center alternative.
Now it's time for programs that cost less than a penny. This week we're going to be showing you Media Portal. Media Portal is a Microsoft Media Center Edition alternative. Plus, it's completely free. I stumbled across this on the internet a couple weeks ago and it just rocked. Let's go ahead and demonstrate how this works.
Alright, this is Media Portal's main page. You can pretty much get to anything from it, but let's go ahead and kick things off with music. And as you can see, it appears all your audio tracks. You could have it open up a folder instead and then pick from the folders what band or whatever it may be, but this way it's just as easy. From there you can just go ahead and back it back out, go into pictures. In this case we're just going to load a slideshow real quick, and you can see it does a fade in between each one. It's very fluid. We're actually skipping through them pretty fast so that we don't make you sit and watch all of our production photos. But I mean, let's go ahead and jump back into the main menu. You can go to radio. You could set up local radio stations if you have a FM tuner card. Now if you look at the settings, they look very basic. Don't let that fool you. Before you actually enter into the program, there's tons you can set up. And one of the best things about this program is this right here, Tetris. The full Tetris game. It's great. I mean, you could seriously spend hours upon hours. But let's go ahead and skip past this too. And let's go back to the main menu. You can watch live TV, record TV, or just go ahead and go in here and watch videos. Let's go ahead and load up one of the indignations.
All the dial-up access points. They have 25 million customers and all this.
Like if you have full screen, it goes into the full screen. If you did have a widescreen video, it would stay at the widescreen aspect. You could adjust that to whatever size you want it to be, but I just leave it at default. It looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and go into system and watch the first episode of that, or at least a clip from it.
Over the last few years, small wireless cameras like this one have become increasingly popular for home and business use. What most people don't realize is that a lot of these cameras
And you can go right up to the top and stop, pause, fast forward, any video. You could also go in there and check out your 4-day forecast or radar or anything like that. But that pretty much wraps it up for Media Portal.
Alright, check back with us later in the show and we're going to show you an alternative to this program and it on a home theater PC. So I'll see you in a little bit.
We know you can't always torrent the file when you're at work or school, so we'd like to thank Vidiac.com for streaming our content.
Now that we made it over to Danny's house, let's check out his home theater PC. What do you have going here?
Well, let's go ahead and introduce the rig. It's a 5700 Ultra with an AMD XP 3000 and a gig of memory. It's in a desktop case, that way it looks like it's a regular DVD player.
Alright, so what makes this a home theater PC?
Well, Mark, the main attraction is the 57-inch LCD monitor. It's connected through DMI to the computer, and the other monitor, the main monitor, is inside the coffee table.
Alright, well let's go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, it's a 17-inch monitor under the glass in the coffee table. That way you can see the icons and all the other windows you need to see in greater detail. Let's go and look at the interface I have here with keyboard and display and everything. here's the interface I have. The main part about this is the Logitech de novo keyboard and mouse set. It's the Bluetooth version, and it's the media versions too. The main reason I got it is just because it's Bluetooth. If you have regular wireless keyboard or mouse, then if you move it around up or down, then you're going to lose connection because it's linear connection.
Alright, so this is pretty much like any other MX laser mouse, but instead this one's going to be Bluetooth instead of the regular wireless interface. The benefit of the Bluetooth is, again, you have a longer range, and there's a lot of cool features that this has, like the software that we'll be getting to later. Also, this is what's really going to make the home theater system here.
Yeah, this is basically, it's a remote for your PC. It's got navigation controls, plus it's also a regular full function number pad. You can open up your media player as well as control volume, things like that, and you can even browse the internet with it too. That's the main function of the interface. Let's show you the LCD screen I have here. This is a 17-inch LCD screen, and I just thought it'd be cool to put it behind some glass. That way it's not in the way.
Looks pretty sleek. So now I was here when you were installing this, so what was the whole problem that you had at the beginning? That, just so in case you want to do this exact setup, so you know what happened.
Yeah, see, one of the problems I ran into is when sitting back in the couch, the angle that you're looking at the LCD screen when it's upright is this colors are distorted and it's really dim. So I had to flip it upside down and use NVIDIA's NV Rotate utility to make the desktop right side up again. That way the crystals from the LCDs are showing light my direction instead of the other way. That way I can sit back on the couch and
it's pretty sweet because, I mean, looking right here, the colors are still just as crisp as getting a straight-on view, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and just jump right into this, and let's start up Media Portal. Alright, now that we have Media Portal open, we can just go ahead and go right up to videos or any of the other functions that I showed you earlier. But one thing that's really key about having a home theater PC is the fact that you can open up some music files like we are right here, and then jump right back to the main menu and load up some pictures and have a slideshow. Let's say if you have a party going, you can kind of have like a whole picture of maybe last year's party, just so you can relate and everyone just kind of get together, and it'll be a nice little blast you have going.
That's a cool idea.
Just like I showed you earlier, the benefit this time around is that you can get the weather right on your TV without waiting for it to mention your local 4-day forecast. And you don't have to really have any fuss about finding a nice channel or anything like that.
Exactly, that's the main feature about that.
Alright, let's go ahead and just jump right into Logitech's own version. What is that called again?
Yeah, that version is called Media Life. It comes with any desktop by Logitech, any keyboard and mouse combo. I think it's just the wireless keyboard and mouse combo. So, just like Media Portal, only a little bit different. It's a little bit quicker, a little bit more fluid, and you have a little bit more control over what's going on. Although the settings aren't quite as in-depth as Media Portal. You can do a lot more stuff with Media Portal than you can with Media Life.
Well, this kind of wraps it up for the home theater setup. We're definitely going to give you updates and anything like that if we find a new program, or if, let's say, Media Life does come out with some new features, we'll definitely tell you about them. But I guess this is it, and we'll see you in the forums.
Alright, so Media Portal is a pretty cool alternative to Windows Media Center Edition.
Definitely. I use it on my home theater PC right now. And I guess this kind of wraps it up for episode 1 of Step 1.
Yep.
And first off, I want to thank the Hack 5 guys. They helped us out a lot when we were getting started.
Yeah, they definitely helped us get stuff moving. Thanks a lot, guys.
Big time.
And if you're looking for updates on information or when our next release is going to be, check us out at www.step1pro.com.